Alright, and we are live. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Mufasa with SOV Gaming. We are here to do a live stream discussion for Fallout 76. Now, the purpose of this video is for interested members of the Fallout community to stop in, chat about the upcoming Bethesda title, Fallout 76. The only rules here for this discussion is that whoever chooses to come here and talk and discuss, that they be respectful to the others doing so and their views. So with that, I'm going to introduce Monkey, SOV Monkey, as well as D-Bolt. They're here to kind of weigh in on various discussion points for Fallout 76. As they stand, a few of them are still rumors. But a lot of them are still interesting topics nonetheless. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, Monkey, if you want to go first.
Hey guys, how's it going today? I'm SOV Monkey. I'm part of the SOV gaming community. We're just going to discuss this game, have some fun today.
Alright, and sup guys, I'm D-Bolt. I am starting another YouTube channel called Knights Honor Gaming, and I'm here to basically just help out with the discussion.
All right. So with that, one of the biggest, I guess, the starting points is where it's going to be in the trailer, which I have ready to play here. If you listen to the song, it's "Country Roads" by, well, actually, who's the original author of this song is it John Denver? I think it's John
Denver, yes.
Yeah, and then I don't know who sings the song here, but he does a pretty good job. But we'll start this off by playing the actual intro to the I guess the official teaser trailer. Here we go.
West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is all there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like the breeze. Country roads, take me.
But when the fighting is stopped and the fallout is settled, you must rebuild.
I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads, take me home, country roads.
In Vault 76, our future begins.
Okay, so that was the intro. That's probably going to be a huge copyright issue right there. It's a good thing I make no monetization off any of these videos, right? So what do you guys? I guess when they one of the biggest questions is where is the game going to take place, right? That's usually what everybody wants to know, right out the get go. Everyone seems to be speculating that it's going to be in West Virginia. What do you guys think? Do you think there's any other possible areas, or in the greater DC region? Do you think there's any other possible areas, or what's your thoughts, Mike? Monkey?
I think, personally, I would like to see it more like an Ozark Mountain type setting, which would lead you to Virginia in that general area, geographically.
Okay. Any particular reason that you'd want to see it in that area, or do you just like saying the word Ozark? I don't know.
I think it would be cool for it to be set in that type of environment.
Okay.
You know, they've touched multiple times. Multiple games have touched on the urban setting.
Uh-huh.
When in reality, in a situation such as what happens during Fallout,
Yep.
most population is going to go to a rural area.
Oh, right. Try to get out of the city, stay away from the majority of the population. That makes sense. D-Bolt, what about you?
Honestly, it does almost sound like they're hinting towards it is going to be in West Virginia, and I really don't mind that if it's in like a rural West Virginia. And it would also make a lot of sense considering, as you can see in the trailer, it seems like it's going to be surrounded a little bit more around rebuilding, because that's what they were talking about that vault being made for.
Right.
Which it would also make sense for it to be in more of a rural area, because you really don't want to start off in a city rebuilding. You really want to start off somewhere where there's not many people, somewhere that you're not going to have much people interfering with it, and it's a lot easier to start off out in a rural area.
So you're kind of feeling like West Virginia would be a pretty, that wouldn't be too far of a stretch saying that it would be there.
Yeah. It would.
So I guess my thing, I'm kind of wondering what the overall gameplay would be like if it were in an area like West Virginia, given that I guess the population of West Virginia is very low. I mean, the largest city, the largest city is Charleston. They're looking at like a pop cap of like 50,000 per 2014. That's a pretty small. I mean, that's really small for a large city, 50,000 people. So I'm kind of wondering, I guess, what the overall story would be. I mean, I definitely feel like you definitely get your more rural setting given how little people there would be. But let's see, the bomb. So when it takes place, it's Monkey, do you remember what the year was for when it takes place? I'm drawing a blank.
Stand by with the information. I'm going to say it's 2102. It's 2102. October 27th, 2102 is what is on the Pip-Boy on the opening credit.
Yeah, so that'd be about 25 years after the bombs drop. So I guess my thought is, I mean, 25 years, there's not really a whole lot that could have taken place in 25 years. I would personally feel like at that point there would be still some government or law enforcement agencies that would still be in play at 25 years after. I obviously, after something like that were to happen, you know, bombs dropping and devastating everything, that there would be a mass shutdown of I guess just government infrastructure. But I feel like 25 years there'd still be remnants, which is maybe where we would see, I guess, maybe the Enclave. I don't know. Who do you guys think we would see for factions? Do you have any input on that?
Well, honestly, I could definitely see the Enclave, considering if it is more of like East Coast than the DC area. That was where the Enclave actually was, and they were, last I checked into the lore of the Enclave, they were basically a government backup to try and keep government order in the US if a nuclear event did happen. So I could see it being very likely that we would see a faction like the Enclave.
Right.
And then, well, but then another thing is that's also around the time the Brotherhood of Steel was founded, but the problem with that is they were founded on the West Coast. They weren't founded on the East, last I checked.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's correct. You would see I would imagine that you would see a little bit of the Enclave. The majority of the Enclave contingent was still on their oil refinery, or not oil refinery, the oil rig out in the middle of the ocean. I remember what the name of it is. That thing always escapes my my recollection, but the majority of the Enclave contingent was still on that oil rig, about 100 years after the bombs dropped. So I could maybe see seeing small contingents of the Enclave, but I feel like they wouldn't be out in very many numbers. But that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, not like out in full force in DC.
Well, let me throw another curveball at you.
Yeah.
West Virginia is home to the Greenbrier Resort,
Right.
in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, which is the bunker. If you, I don't know how familiar you are with history, but there is a massive bunker for Congress underneath that resort.
Oh, really?
So
No, I didn't.
you talk about government, yeah, you talk about government, you know, still being intact. That would be the ideal place. That is actually where, if that bunker was used, government would be reestablished.
Still today, or what?
Yes, that is still. It's not. It's went public. It's public knowledge now. So it's not. You know how that goes. There's probably other plans in works.
Right.
But you know, back in the '70s and all during the Cold War and stuff, that was the bunker they planned on reestablishing government with during a nuclear fallout.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good info. I didn't know that. That's the more you know. So
now, you know, of course, everything we're discussing is 100% speculation. You know.
Right. Yeah. No. It's
at this point.
Yeah, there's virtually nothing that's confirmed. Even the stuff that came from that guy on Twitter. I'm killing it here, drawing a blank on that guy's name. He released the information saying that there would be multiplayer within Fallout 76, and he even with his news, it's just leaked information. Nothing. We don't have anything. Which is why it's rather mind-boggling for me to be on pages on like Facebook and just social media in general, and everybody seems to, you know, they want to say they're the credible source, and they seem to be crapping on Fallout 76 and any kind of a multiplayer contingent it may have before we even get actual word from E3, which is what, a mere 6 days away. I find that kind of it's mildly funny.
Countdown timer for E3 is 7 days, 17 hours, 33 minutes.
There we go. 7 days, 17 minutes. So, the other, I guess the other question that has been out in the I guess the social media world space has been what type of Fallout game it's going to be, whether or not it's going to be a you know, your typical, kind of like what we're doing here. You know, you've got your quests and things like that, and your typical RPG game, or if it's going to be more along the lines of a survival RPG focused more on, of course, missions and questing, but focused more on just trying to survive the wasteland. And there seems to be a lot of speculation and leaks pointing towards a survival RPG with multiplayer elements. What do you guys think, starting with Monkey, what do you guys think would be the overall result of Fallout 76 going to a survival RPG versus your standard multiplayer, your standard Fallout setting?
Well, you know, the problem I've always had personally with Fallout, it is a single player. I like to play with people. You know, I like to have party chats, kind of like we do with our State of Decay and stuff like that.
Right.
I really think for a mass majority of gamers, that's what they go for. So, you know, if Fallout pulled this off correctly,
Yep.
it could possibly be one of the best Fallout games that day.
Okay. So you personally, you would like to see some sort of a multiplayer. Now I want to clarify. Now, you don't mean multiplayer as in like Elder Scrolls Online multiplayer. You mean more of what exactly?
More of basically people who drop in and out of your world. Help you survive, making it where it requires the team effort to survive.
Yep.
But you're not punished where you can't play by yourself.
Okay, so yeah, so you want, yeah, okay, and that makes sense to me. I think personally, I think I could get behind that. D-Bolt, what about you? What are your thoughts there?
Honestly, I'm agreeing with Monkey on Alive. Like, I'm okay with the single player, but ever since I have been playing Fallout, I've thought about how cool it would be to have at least like some sort of co-op with it. But I wouldn't want to see it do something like an MMO, like what Elder Scrolls Online. I want them to do something more like what State of Decay did, and they kept it the normal game, but they just added people to it. So keep it like normal Fallout, but then add almost like a co-op aspect to it, if they couldn't do like a big multiplayer.
Okay. And you and again, you would prefer to see a smaller drop-in, drop-out style multiplayer more so than the larger ESO style multiplayer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and that seems to be, from what I've gathered from I guess the overall community online through various social media sites, that seems to be the overarching, I guess, the consensus is that people want multiplayer, but not, they want a co-op. They want where they can share their experience with friends, but they don't want to have to be stuck with, 700 other asshats in their game, ruining their experience by griefing them every 5 seconds. That seems to be the overall consensus. So I'm personally, that's in the same boat that I'm in. I would really like to see a co-op style multiplayer. I want to be able to play with friends. Ever since I've played Fallout, I've played just about every Fallout that there is, minus the multiplayer Brotherhood of Steel one that they came out with that was absolutely horrendous. I don't know if you guys ever played that or not. I didn't. But just by reviews, it was a pretty atrocious product. But I mean, I've always wanted some type of multiplayer. The game's really in depth, especially with the survival aspect of the game, going out and gathering food and stuff like that, and then trying to survive, and not be eaten alive by death claws. Being able to share that experience with others in a Fallout universe would be absolutely phenomenal, I think. That's a long-winded explanation to say I agree.
That's what I was going to say there. I would like them to take the Fallout environment, the Fallout gameplay, and incorporate some of the stuff like art in 7 Days to Die. As far as the building, stuff like that. There's art where they can incorporate, the survival, the need for food, the need for water, stuff like that. I think that would be the ideal game. I would love to see here's the game combined to one.
Yep.
Just to make an awesome game.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the Fallout universe, the setting that they give you in and of itself is probably the perfect, I guess the perfect game to have a cooperative survival experience in. I've seen other, and I know Monkey, you and I have played other games on PC that are, well, and I guess now on console with, I just hit B trying to roll out of the way of that zombie. Wow. State of Decay, things like that. I know we've played other games, but they don't seem like they're not as fleshed out. I feel like if they were to get the Fallout universe, some type of a game like Fallout 4, but revamped, and then the ability to use multiplayer or co-op, I think that would be the ultimate survival co-op experience. That's just me. That's my outside opinion, but I don't know. What do you... So the overall when watching the video, they talk about when the what was it? When the dust has, or when the fallout has, or no, when the fallout is over and the dust has settled, we must rebuild. With that, do you guys think there's going to be a? Do you think that's, I guess, a definite, like, you think that's definitive enough to be able to say yes, there probably will be a building mechanic? Do you think that's something that we can expect, or do you think we're too early to decide that?
I think we're too early to decide that. We would all love to see it, but the truth be known, in this type of game, I don't know that we will see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be one for the records if we did. You know, it would be a first time that we've really incorporated all aspects of gameplay.
Right. Yeah,
another
I mean,
thing would be
go ahead.
Another thing with the building is it would be very nice, because if they did have some sort of like have a home base mechanic in it and it was co-op, I wouldn't want something like referencing State of Decay again, where it's like a pre-built base and you can just make edits to it. I'd want something like what Fallout 4 has, which is basically you build your own base, and I think that will make the experience a lot better base-wise, because you'd have your own custom base, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to be a different experience each time, because you're always going to do something different.
Right.
And I feel like that would help out the game a lot. It will make things feel a lot, well, it will make things feel a lot more RPG-like and more Fallout-like. There was one thing I saw, it was another one of those leaked rumors, it's not confirmed or not, but they were talking about how the Fallout 4 building system was basically the prototype for Fallout 76 and what they want to do. And honestly, I'll be excited if that's actually the case.
Right.
And it does end up being co-op.
Yeah, well, Fallout 4 originally, before the game was released, Fallout 4 was supposed to have a multiplayer feature, but they had decided that that the multiplayer was not going to fit the narrative that they wanted to push within the game. So they ended up scrapping it last minute. That literally, it was so close to making it into the final cut of the game that, I mean, I don't know if they were able to pull data files on that at all, if anybody did any like data mining, if they were able to pull any info on that online or on Reddit or anything, because I haven't looked that up exactly, but from what I've gathered and from what I've heard in previous interviews, that was almost put into the game. So, I mean, I wouldn't, personally, with them being as close as they were last time, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a multiplayer feature, but that could also be me putting out a what's the word for it when you look for something you want to see. Oh, good grief! Like a false positive, you know, that could be what it is. You know, just me saying this is what I want to see, and then looking for everything that could be that. But I mean, really, who knows at this point? So would you guys like to see, overall, would you like to see building in Fallout 76, or would you want to see more the combat survival aspect more so than the building?
Mike, you want to go first?
Oh, go ahead. Research about the Fallout 4.
Honestly, I'd really want it, but it's not something I'd want forced on the game either. Like, I'd rather them focus more on getting the game right and moving smoothly than forcing something on the game that can mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like how other games have done, where like they'll force a mechanic in there that people want, and it ends up screwing the game up really bad. So if it would interfere with the way the game played with like a co-op experience and all that, I'd say hold back on it and just sort of make like pre-made bases and all that. But
yeah.
If not, I'd say go for it. I really want it.
Well, and Wait, Tippy, you're in here now, right? Do you have much experience with the building in Fallout 4? You're coming in really quiet. Can you fix your mic?
Better?
Slightly. D-Ball, can you hear her better than before or no?
I can hear her better, but still quiet.
Yeah, you're really quiet there, Tippy. I don't know what's...
I'm not sure.
Okay, that's a little louder.
It's better now.
Is the mic pretty close to your mouth? Or is it far away?
Yes, I am basically deep throating my mic right now.
Oh, that is much better. Whatever you're doing now is much better than what you were doing 5 seconds ago. Okay. So, you said you do have experience building on Fallout 4. Is that something that you'd want to see implemented in Fallout 76? Or no?
I personally would like to see some sort of building mechanic. I mean, 76 is supposed to be a lot sooner after the bombs dropped. I feel like if they don't have a building mechanic, like, what is there going to be to settle?
Right.
'Cause
Well, and they say
I just feel like
specifically...
there's not going to be a whole lot to settle then.
Yeah, well, and I feel the same way. They say specifically, you know, you must rebuild. I feel like, me personally, I feel like part of, unless they did, you know, going back to the whole State of Decay way of building things, unless they built, you know, pre-made fobs places, the only option really for you to quote-unquote rebuild is to give you the option, you know, like in Fallout 4, to rebuild, to use some kind of a building function. I don't think that it would be too far out of the realm of possibility to say that they would have it in there, because it seems like the I guess the overwhelming majority seem to like the building to one degree or another, but they just don't want it to be the end-all be-all. You know, like in Fallout 4, there are various missions that require you to build structures, which some people did not like. I personally liked the building, so I didn't see much of a problem with it. And I didn't mind going out and scavenging those resources, because most of the time I already had them anyhow. But with this new one,
What do you mean you can't open the gate? Stop playing.
yeah, I agree. I think with no with no building mechanic, I think that it would be weird to say, what are you gonna rebuild if there's no, you know, no building mechanic? Unless they mean rebuilding the old, you know, the old government that was in place, but
I'm sorry.
again, that doesn't make any sense either, because it didn't last. So,
You know, I'd like to chime in here on the building.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I don't have much experience on building on Fallout 4. I haven't played 4 in a while because, like I said, I don't care for the single player aspect. Now, one thing I can say on the building aspect, if they would pull from everyone's favorite game, we'll say that because I know you hate this game, Blake, would be 7 Days to Die. Now, the reason I say that building mechanic is because you do have pre-built houses you can add and take away from.
I just got here.
Or you can build from scratch.
Right.
Plus, you've got your terrain modification.
What's that?
Right.
You know, ideally, that's what I would like to see in the building
You
mechanic.
have enough supplies to keep the general store stocked for a whole month?
With being able to have pre-made structures and areas to build your own,
You
or
hear that, Danny? You gonna open the gate and let us in?
Correct,
or are you
yes.
gonna be the one
Pre-made
talking to
structures that
crazy
you can
Myrna
100
about losing out on all
modify.
the
I can take in
supplies?
7 Days to Die, and I can say, hey, I don't like that wall there. So I take it down, I redesign it.
Give me a
Right.
minute.
You know, I think that's cool. It gives both types of players what they would want. You can either start from scratch, or you can start with a prefab base, or you can keep the prefab base exactly as it is and add, you know, upgrade your security type deal.
right. And that's something I personally feel like I could get behind, because then it opens it up to everybody. Then everyone has I guess everyone has an option. If you don't like building, just go occupy something that's already built. If you do like building, build on what's already there. You know. Yeah, I think I could get behind that personally as a player.
Now the major problem with that is exactly the problems you run into in 7 Days to Die. It can be game.
Always believed in freedom of the press.
You know, now fortunately with the Xbox One X, not as much. You take a guy like me who's running a regular Xbox.
You look like
it can't process everything. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You run into performance issues, and that's why, you know, 7 Days to Die takes a lot of heat, because it is game crashing. You know, you can do one thing wrong, crash your game, corrupt your save file, in that aspect, and that's why it's going to be very hard to implement that on console.
He's got you there,
right.
McDonough. Guess not everyone gets one.
Well, and that's one thing that happens on Xbox as well, is that if you have a build cap per each settlement, if you go over that build cap by using workarounds, various workarounds, or you use cheat menus, you can actually crash your game every time you load it. You could load into your base and then all of a sudden, boop, game's crash. So then you have no choice but to abandon that save or go back several saves and lose, you know, countless hours of, or days of your life. So I could see it. I could see there being issues with having both a building mechanic and multiplayer in a game like Fallout, where it's, you know, it's as graphically detailed as it is.
Well, sure.
You know, I could definitely see that being a problem. So I feel like we'll have to see there, but
one private
I don't know.
Nick Valentine, a detective of sorts who specializes in tracking people down. Usually for
Tip here, did you have any input on the possibility of multiplayer being put into Fallout 76? Whether or not you'd be supportive of it or against it? And we're talking more the co-op style multiplayer, more so than the MMO style multiplayer, because it seems to be general consensus that an MMO would suck. And I would assume that you're in that same boat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everyone
I think multiplayer would be cool, though.
Tight-fisted hands.
So there was.
I mean, I feel like almost.
Why don't you stop by my office after you see Valentine?
Go ahead.
No, well, so there was also speculation, you know, back in the trailer, that there's a board game on the table, the coffee table, that it's an Unstoppables board game, and on that board game it shows 5 players, or 5 characters to choose from. There's a lot of speculation going around on Reddit and other various forums and social media saying that that may be how many players that we have available to us. That was something that I forgot to touch on. Do you feel, anybody could chime in on this one, but do you feel like 5 would be too many? Do you think 5 would be a decent number of players to have?
I don't know that it'd be too many. I don't know.
I think it would. It's all gonna depend on how they do it. You know, 5 would be awesome, but at the same time, 4 is pretty much the industry standard.
I'm the new guy.
Right.
Well, it's good to have you here.
Stranger Things just brought up in chat, you know, and this is something that we never thought about. He's very true. Surely some people blasted off on rockets just before the nuke fallout. Space colony would be awesome, and you're trying to get back home to Earth.
I'll take a look.
That's a possible scenario.
Test the grips.
That would be interesting.
You know, it's all up for speculation at this point, but we do appreciate you chiming in. Stranger Things.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's what some people thought, that that we were gonna get a Starfield this year, but with them announcing Fallout 76, I don't think that's gonna happen. So maybe, well, I mean, maybe it could happen later this year. Who knows? We haven't heard anything, but with Fallout 76, if anything, I mean, yeah, everything's up to speculation. So we could see whatever. Who knows? We could be in space. So they did show a Zayton ship in the teaser trailer. There was a ship in the teaser trailer, one of the alien ships. So again, you know, who knows? It is a possibility we could see the return of the Zetans, because they have been watching Earth this entire time. So we could see a return of them. Hell, for all we know, we could start out on their ship trying to escape, just like in Fallout 3. Except for in Fallout 3, we got to take over their ship, which was pretty awesome. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but that was pretty sick. You got to attack the world with a giant laser beam. It was awesome. It was a good time. But yeah, so I guess the other thing that that some people were saying was that the game is going to be a lot like Ark, Survival Evolved, or Rust, in the aspect of the building mechanics, the overall, I guess the story progression, kind of where every group, they can go in, and it would almost be like an MMO, but there's a max number of people that they can have per map, I guess. And each person, each group, I guess, if they decided to group up, could go out on their own adventures and kind of do things at their own pace, and complete missions at their own pace, kind of like in Ark. Unfortunately, like Rust doesn't really have a story. It's got kind of a story, but not really. But in Ark, there is one, more or less. There's bosses to kill. Is that something that you think we could maybe see here, or do you think they're going to want to stick with more the 1 to 5 player co-op type multiplayer? Mike, we can start with you, and then D-Bolt.
Go ahead, D-Bolt. I was interacting with the fans here on the chat.
Oh yeah, D-Bolt, if it was
right,
you, if you got something to say, go for it.
Yeah, alright, honestly, I would probably rather just stick with the co-op, because they're saying that this Fallout's going to be running on the same engine as Fallout 4, and just engine-wise and what the engine can handle, I don't know if it can handle, like, a bunch of people in the one big survival game. I think the most that they really could handle is like a 4 to 5 player co-op. Just realistically, with how Fallout has been when it comes to bugs and just gameplay wise, and the way Bethesda is with that.
Right. So, okay, so you're saying that overall it would be pretty hard for them to do something like that based off of the engine, more or less, right?
Yeah, it just with the normal Fallout engine, because it's the same exact one as Fallout 4.
Right.
And all they're doing is just changing up details and all that. So, just with the way Fallout 4's engine runs, like me playing it right now, I honestly don't think it could handle more than 4 to 5 players being in there at once, doing stuff all at the same time.
Right. And personally, I could see that being an issue, being that, just running around out in Boston over here, you'll crash the hell out of your game if you're not careful, depending on the area that you're at. But with that, going back to the setting, if it is potentially in the West Virginia area, or the greater DC region, like we had said, West Virginia is a pretty small place. There's not small, but there's not a whole lot of populace there. There'd be a lot of mountainous terrain, a lot of wooded terrain. I feel like it would be more about surviving out in the woods than it would be, like in Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 where you're inside the city. So with that, do you still think even if the setting were in a not so densely packed area, like in a wooded setting or whatever, do you still think that a multiplayer like Ark or Rust wouldn't work?
Honestly, no. It has a possibility of working, but just like I said, with the way the engine works, because we do have something that is a lot like that, which is the Far Harbor DLC. But then they could end up changing up a lot of the way that things run too. But it'd be hard to make it run right with just the way they work out the game. If there is a possibility they could do it right, but I think they'd have to lower down the graphics and they won't be able to put as much detail in and all that, which I think they would put as much detail in as
Okay.
You know, let's go one step further with that. You know, we're talking about being able to handle doing that. You know, we ran into the same problem with all, like, Gabby, y'all were there.
Mm-hmm.
When we went to the Nitrado servers, issues went away.
Right.
You know, so is that something we could see if they went that route? Possibility of PC hosted servers.
Perfect.
So you could have multiple players in there and then not have issues. I could see something like that maybe being a thing.
There we go.
That'd be interesting. Wait, hello. Do you think Fallout 76 would have strong and good storyline? To touch on what one of our viewers here asked, he said, he or she said, hello, do you think Fallout 76 would have a strong and good storyline? So that really depends. Personally, I feel like during that part, that place in time, I think that there would be a lot that Bethesda could work with. Like we had mentioned at the start of the stream, it's only 25 years after the bombs dropped, which means there would have to be some semblance of established government remaining. There would have to still be first responders of some kind, whether it's police, whether it's EMS, firefighting, firefighters. There would still have to be those groups out and about. I wouldn't imagine that they would just disappear. So I personally would feel that there would still be a good story to work with. What that is, though, that I don't know. That's entirely up for debate. We don't even officially know the setting just yet. So really it's kind of we're still waiting to find out, I guess. With that, what do you guys think? Do you think there would be a strong and good storyline with it, or anybody can chime in here?
All right.
In past experience, Fallout's always had a good storyline, in my opinion. So I don't see why this one would be any different. But at the same time, it's hard to incorporate a storyline if you're going for a multiplayer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go ahead, D-Ball.
Welcome back, pilot.
One other thing is they don't have as much story already developed in something like Fallout 4 would, because where it is only 25 after, they could actually use that as an opportunity to develop more into some of the lore that's already in the game. Like, I believe 25 years is actually before super mutants were even around, so I don't think we're even going to see super mutants in there, so it'd be a lot more human and ghoul orientated as well.
Right. Tippy,
they'd still be able to develop some of that lore.
Right. I mean, yeah, you could still work into it at that point, that's for sure. Tippy, or any input?
I kind of agree with Monkey, except for the multiplayer part. I feel like it would still be, it'd still be possible to implement a good storyline and have multiplayer. You just follow the same line.
Okay. I'm kind of wondering
with that on a State of Decay style multiplayer,
where it's drop in, drop out.
Have a good storyline.
Sure.
And the
if
only
they went MMO style, it's hard to have a storyline.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan. I mean, speaking of MMO, I wasn't really a fan of the way Elder Scrolls Online worked with their story and their progression. I mean, I don't mind the game. I have it on my console, but I don't play it because I don't really like the way that the story works, I guess. That's just me. So, I mean, yeah, in an MMO setting, I could definitely agree there. I don't think that there would be... I think it would be weird, to say the least, doing questing. I don't think they'd be able to improve too much on what ZeniMax has done with their Elder Scrolls Online series, but I personally, I genuinely feel like that's not even close to what we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see more along the lines of, you know, like we had mentioned 100 times before, the State of Decay style online. I think that's more what we can expect. I can't English. What about the rumors regarding possible release dates? Because we've seen a lot up until now as far as potential release dates, things that, you know, have been posted on Amazon, GameStop.com, things like that. Are any of you following any of the, I guess, the hoopla with release dates?
I haven't actually. What is the official release date right now? I haven't even kept up to. Just heard so many.
We don't really have one because we haven't even had E3 yet, which is, you know, coming in like like Monkey had mentioned, 6 days and like 16 hours now. You know, we don't even.
I got some ideas on a release date.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Pip-Boy at the beginning of the video shows the date of October 27th, 2102. Now, if you're going to shoot for an October-November release, which is ideally with new games released for the Christmas rush, that would be awesome. Well, think about what you got. Whenever the game first went available for pre-order on Amazon, it had an estimated delivery date of July 31st. Is that what I told you, Blake? But if that's the case, you know, then that's hinting that we might see an earlier release. If it does release in October, like the Pip-Boy speculates, you know, then it's going to have to compete with the new COD coming out. Possibly Battlefield 5. Have we got a release date on that yet, Blake?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I don't know.
I said, have we got a release date on Battlefield 5? Because I believe I've read somewhere that it's going to be an October-November release as well.
Yeah, I believe
you
it's...
know, you got to think, do they want to put Fallout 76 out there to compete in games like that? Because I personally, if I was in charge of releasing, I wouldn't want to compete with Call of Duty or Battlefield game.
Right. Well, I think, and then this is just me, I think that the Fallout community themselves, I think that they wouldn't really have to compete with Battlefield or Call of Duty, because they're a community one and of their own. I feel like the Call of Duty community and Battlefield community, I think I don't know what's the word for it. I think that they have their own little group, their own little clique. I don't know that they'd really have to compete too much with those two other titles. I mean, they may. I mean, in the aspect of, you know, how much money do you have and how much money do you really want to spend in a month on video games. Not everyone's like me and is okay dropping $200 on a video game or several video games, you know. Don't tell my wife. You know, but
he gets them all through my game share, Gabby.
Actually, that's not wrong. I haven't bought a video game in a little while. Hey, in my defense, I keep trying to go halvesies with you, and you just don't let me. So it's kind of hard not to get them. D-Ball, Tip here, what do you guys feel about an earlier release? Do you think it's something that we'll see earlier this year, later this year?
Honestly,
realistically, I don't think we'll see it for the year.
Because if Bethesda played it smart, they would wait until after Call of Duty not sort of release, because what would most likely happen is, you know how Fallout usually lasts for a while and it's a very replayable game. What's going to happen is if they released it before Battlefield and Call of Duty, people are going to start playing that while at the same time playing Fallout, so they're probably not even going to replay it a whole lot when those two games come out. They'd probably be better for them to release it more towards the end of the year after the sort of Battlefield and Call of Duty hype has died down a bit.
Right.
Well, you know, and while we're talking release dates, guess what else I just found out's coming out in October?
What's that?
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh right, well that's gonna be a big game in and of itself. I can't even fathom what the sales are gonna be like that, or be for that if they, as long as they do it right and they advertise. I don't even think they have to advertise properly. I think just the fact that they're gonna come out with that would be a hard game to compete with, actually, especially in the role playing community, because people like to role play the shit out of that character in Red Dead Redemption 1. So. Yeah,
I would actually say if Red Dead's coming, that would be more of a competition for Fallout than COD or Battlefield. I feel like COD and Battlefield are sort of different games.
Yeah.
Different types of games.
Yeah, it's a different play
Whereas
style.
Fallout...
Definitely.
Right, exactly. I feel like the competition between Red Dead Redemption and Fallout would be much, much closer than probably Battlefield.
But yeah, I just seen on the Xbox store, it's available for pre-order. Available date is going to be 10/25/2018 at 11 p.m. That's for Red Dead Redemption. So, an October release might not work for me. Because I'll be honest with you, if I've got to choose between the two games, I'm probably going to choose Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, between the three, yeah, I definitely, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, personally, I'm gonna have to go with that. I'm gonna have to go with Fallout 76, especially if it's got multiplayer. I'll be honest, if it's got multiplayer, where I can play with, 2, 3, 4 other people, I will probably not touch anything else. State of Decay is probably gonna take a drastic backburn. Like Ark, all of that. I'll be honest, I'll shut the server down for some Fallout multiplayer. Not gonna lie. No, probably not, because other people are playing on that. So, and then there was one. What was it? Oh, that's what it was. So to go back to the possibility of it being a survival RPG, I wanted to make sure that I brought this up. Because some people had mentioned that, like in the trailer, right, you see that there's a backpack and stuff like that. And then there were some other leaks about it being more of a survival RPG. What do you think? A lot of the modding community, they try to put out mods that, I guess that kind of appeal to the survival-esque nature of the game. Like there's a lot of backpack mods. There's one on the Creation Club. There's what do you call it? There's like a camping mod and a bunch of ones, a bunch of mods. Anyway, what do you guys think? I guess starting with Tip here, what do you guys think the likelihood of seeing mod support for Fallout 76 is if they go to implement a multiplayer or co-op setting into the game? Do you think we'll still see mods, or do you think they'll come like free mods, like on the mod section, or do you think they'll come in the form of like paid mods, like on the Creation Club?
Well, to be honest, I don't have that much experience with mods on Fallout. I don't play with them a whole lot.
I always get so excited.
But I guess
Use it. You can always trade it. Every
really that even works.
I see a big issue with mods on a multiplayer standpoint, and we're going to go back to Ark. Because that's where I have experience with mods. I don't have experience on Fallout with mods, but, on the PC version of Ark, the mods work because it's a mod to a server.
Yep.
But whenever you start going with the console, if you're doing the multiplayer, every console is going to have the same mods installed. That's going to be an issue.
Well, not necessarily, because for instance, if you're playing with me on certain games, I believe Ark is the same way on PC. Some games allow you to have where just the client has to have the mods, and then everybody else joining doesn't have to have them. I mean, games like DayZ, for an example, those ones. That one required everyone to have the mods. Like if you joined a DayZ server, everyone that joined had to have them before you could join. But I guess what I'm getting at is there is you know, there are games out there that allow you to where just the client has to have them, not everybody that joins. I mean, it is a possibility to have them without everybody uploading them, or sorry, downloading them rather. Hey DM333, thanks for subscribing, buddy. That means a lot. We're at 140 subscribers now, I believe. That's a hell of a lot more than we thought we would end up with. So thank you very much. That means a lot.
One other thing on the mod subject, just as sort of like a little reference for what Blake was talking about, is like them having the same mods. Farming Sim, they've actually done that, and what they'll do is when you go click on a server, it gives you a list of all the mods they're implementing. That way you can go and download those mods and play in that server with friends. And it's a completely different game, I know, but it runs relatively smooth.
Right. I mean, it is a possibility. That's kind of the same way that what's it called? Oh geez, I literally just said the name. DayZ. That's the same way DayZ operates. Everybody downloads. You know, you go to join that server, and then it prompts you saying, okay, well, you need this, this, and this. Enable to get into the server, so then you have an option to download it or not download it. So I mean, yeah, again with that, I could definitely see that being a thing as well.
And then like the Creation Club mods, what Bethesda has sort of been seeing, they're sort of pushing for these Creation Club mods a lot, which you can even launch. But theoretically, like the way the Creation Club mods run compared to a free mod, they run a lot better and have a lot less problems than free mods do. Or at least from what I've seen and heard. They run a lot smoother, so if they were to not have mod support for free mods and go just a Creation Club route, that's probably something they would use as a reason for it, is just it running smoothly and not, and issues with the game because of the fact that Creation Club will most likely run smoother than a bunch of free mods that you download.
Yep. Well, and that makes sense in my eye. Do you I personally, because I mean, I've noticed that my mods from Creation Club do run a lot better than the mods that I get from the mod page. I mean, but the flip side to that, the caveat, I guess, is do you really want to see paid mods on the actual game? Like, do you want to have to pay for every mod that you use? You know what I mean?
I mean, personally, I wouldn't.
Right.
Yeah, same. That'd be like paying for every little detail of the game, and imagine how much that would eventually end up costing you. That'd be like spending $100 on Fortnite for V-Bucks. Which personally I will never do.
Well, we don't talk about Fortnite here because Fortnite is stupid. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it is.
Not stupid.
It is stupid.
No, I don't mind Fortnite, but I'm really bad at it. I can't build and shoot to save my life. I die every single time. Well, let's see here. So, I mean, I feel like the general consensus really is that everybody would like to see multiplayer, just not in an MMO standing. And then people would like to see it more as a survival RPG style. And then people would like to see a building mechanic. Is that kind of what I got from that?
Yeah. That's my big thing on it.
That's pretty much what I'm taking from.
Yeah. And that Tippy or you, how do you feel on that? About sum it up.
Yeah.
For you. Okay.
Much.
Yeah, and that seems to be what I see from I guess the general populace in social media, is that people want to see the the multiplayer, but not in a MMO standing, and they want to be able to they want to be able to go out and survive, but they want it to be optional. I think is the biggest thing people have mentioned is that they want the options. They don't want to be forced into multiplayer or forced to build. So I think if they can balance that, I think that Fallout 76 will do really well, as long as they can balance that out, that is. But
well, a lot of people made a big issue about Todd Howard saying you don't need to use the building mechanics in Fallout 4, but you had to for a few missions. And honestly, I don't understand why. I do understand why some people got Season Pass and they were upset a lot of the mods were surrounded around the building. But I don't understand why they would really be upset that you had to hop into the menu twice to literally just click a button and build a radar beacon.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. So what,
because it's not like you're putting in a bunch of effort, doesn't take any creativity, you literally just go select it, click it, put them in a random spot. It's no big deal with that.
Yep. Is that kind of how you guys feel, or? Tippier and...
I pretty much agree with that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So that's so we're at about an hour now. I am fresh out of material to cover. Does anybody have any final thoughts on anything that we had covered for Fallout 76?
Well,
I don't. I think we pretty much covered.
The only thing I'm honestly curious about is just what they're going to do graphics-wise. I'm curious about that, because it's running off the same engine, so I'm wondering what they are changing about the graphics. And I think you see in the teaser trailer, the vault seems like a lot different. Like, a lot different. Like,
Right.
usually they're really skin tight, this suit looked a lot more loose and all that, so I'm curious what they are going to do graphic-wise while it's running on the same engine. Are they going to dumb them down a little bit? Are they going to enhance them? Or are they just going to throw different detail in different places? But we probably won't see any more of that until E3.
Well, I mean, with the advent of of the stronger systems, obviously with PC or the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X being the strongest console out there, flex the muscles a little bit. They I couldn't see them dumbing down the graphics. What you're seeing with there's like two versions to the vault suit, right? There's the more like stuck to you condom looking vault suit that it hugs every crevice of your body, like we see in Fallout 4. But then if you remember back to Fallout 3, Fallout 3's vault suit was more relaxed. It didn't hug you quite as much. It was more of just a suit that you put over your skivvies, And I think that they're going to go back to that more old school vault suit look like we saw in Fallout 3. Just like with the Pip-Boy, if you notice that the Pip-Boy that we're using is the Pip-Boy 2000. That's a much older predecessor to the Pip-Boy 3000 that we have now, like in Fallout 4. So I think that's really what you're seeing there. Is that they're just going back to the older style. I don't know if you remember the one from Fallout 3 or not, but what about classes for PvP? They could have different classes.
One thing, if I had two pictures side by side to send to you, that way you could show real quick and compare it. But I did notice one thing with the table that you see in it.
Mm-hmm.
It looks a lot different than that same table does in Fallout 4 as well, because I believe that's another table we do have in Fallout. And just the detail on it seems different in a way, but I really can't pinpoint the way. It just seems like it has a slight bit more detail and shadowing on it.
Right.
But
well, there are differences throughout the trailer. Like if you notice, the TV is in color versus the TVs in Fallout 4, which is 200 years later. The TVs are in black and white. Even on the days that the bomb dropped in the the prologue, the TVs are still black and white versus the one in Vault 76 is in color. So I mean, there are some changes, and I don't know if they just retcon that stuff where they, I don't know what the lore is behind what TVs were where and who had better TVs and what state or whatever. I couldn't see West Virginia having better stuff than Boston, but that's just me. It's not like their capital in West Virginia is very much. So, but I think a lot of that we're just going to have to kind of wait and see, I suppose. I want to touch on something one of our viewers had put in here. He said, what about classes for PvP? They could have different classes like the assassin class for the assassin class or the heavy gun class. Some kind of medic class. That way you need each other to fight the bosses. Do either of you three want to touch on that before I take my turn there?
I'm honestly so mixed feeling about that. I don't know what I'd be able to say about it.
Tip
I
here.
don't know if I like that idea.
Okay.
I don't think I would.
So, and this is just me talking, but really classes, if they were to go back to Fallout New Vegas, right, where you had to pick your traits and you had to pick your, unlike this game, right, where you go in and you go into your perk chart and you slap a couple stars in here and there. Unlike this game, Fallout New Vegas, you had to go through and you had to be very detail oriented with where you placed your points. Here, you know, once I reach level 222, right, I've got just about every perk there is in this game unlocked, even ones that I literally would never need. But if they went back to the Fallout New Vegas style where you had to be a lot more choosy with what you put into your character, you could, theoretically, if they limited you a little bit on the amount of points, you could have something similar to that, classes where you had to specialize your character. You know, like me, I would really like to build, so I specialize my character in weight capacity so I can carry all of the things. You know, Mike Monkey could specialize his character in heavy weapons so he can walk around with a minigun and just, you know, open the lead faucet on fools. You know, if they went back to that kind of thing, then I could see, you know, specializing. But, you know, like an actual class system, personally, I don't think that I would want to see that. I think I would, because I think that would take away from the role-playing aspect of the game that a lot of people like to use Fallout for, the role-playing. That's just me. That was a long-winded answer, but it was an answer.
I think putting it that way.
Oh, this
makes
is bad.
More sense. Like, what?
Nothing.
I guess when I think of like classes like that, I don't know, my mind goes to like Division, you know, where you have to set up a gear set, and that's like that's more where I went with that. But I think like you said, doing something more like New Vegas, that would make more sense, where you have to be a little bit more like, the whole point of having a group is that everybody's kind of like geared towards a specific like
a role
function. That makes more sense. Yeah.
Right. That I could get behind.
Still be well-rounded if you wanted to be. You know?
Right. Well, and that's the other thing. You'd want to, I guess, them on the developer side, they would want to make sure that they didn't limit you too much, because if the players can't, you know, like for instance, again, if you played by yourself and you didn't want to play with other people, the players would have to be able to combat not having those players. So, I guess limiting. I can't English today. Apparently, the word limiting. Yeah, that word. You couldn't really do that, I guess, too much, because it would kind of screw over the single players.
Well, I guess not necessarily, but kind of. I mean, think about like Borderlands. You choose a specific player based on like a class, I suppose.
Right.
And you're able to play that single player. I mean, it's possible. It would just not be as much fun.
Yeah.
Mind if I put a little bit input on that subject, please?
No, you are not allowed. You have to stay quiet. Just kidding. Yes, of course. That's the point of this live stream.
There was a good example of actually building it right to a way it can work in single player, roleplay wise, is a good example because I know none of you guys have played it yet. It's probably my favorite game. I like it more than Skyrim, which I know I'm going to get slapped for saying that. Some people do. It's just more realistic, but the way they have it so you can build your character, like I can build my character more towards like an agility and speed side and like work more with short swords. So I can, when you level up, they don't have things like Fallout, like you level up your strength, like you level that up by actually doing that task and tasks that involve that strength. But you could select perks. And like there's different perks, like let's say I want one that's going to increase my strength by a bit more and make me a bit tougher and more durable. I cannot English. Make me a bit more tougher and more durable, but it's also going to have negative impacts, so it will also make it so I have like 20% less stamina or 20% less speed, something like that.
Right, buffs and debuffs.
Yeah, it would sort of balance out so you can build like a character you want that will work in multiplayer, and like I can put a bunch of perks into my healing perks on there, which will allow me to bandage up better and all that, or I could focus more into like always putting my levels into like being a drunk even if I wanted to. It's stuff like that.
What did I say about phones?
She wasn't here for that.
Oh, that's right, I suppose. All right, she gets a pass. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, they had that in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, where you had to be a little bit more choosy on what you worked on. If you wanted to work on leather armor, or light armor, you had to actually wear light armor and get your ass kicked in it for a little while. If you wanted to wear heavy armor, you had to wear heavy armor, and it made you slower, and it weighed a lot more, and yeah, I mean, I could see something like that. I mean, I like my games to be a little bit more challenging and brainy. I like to have to, think a little bit more with what I build. So for me, that would be awesome. I'd like to hear what I guess the general, population would have to say on that. I don't know if anyone that's in here would want to chime in on that thought, but Monkey, we haven't heard anything from you in a hot minute. What are your thoughts there, Pumpkin?
Have a nice day.
It's hard to say. I wasn't really down here because you kind of know where I live in that realm.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't know how to get it across. I'm all about PvP and shit like that.
Yep. One
thing I am curious about. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
Is if after Kingdom Come, the only problem with Kingdom Come, just referring to it again here, just as an RP game, a lot of people didn't like that it was buggy, but that's because the engine it ran off of. But the stuff the mechanics in it are a lot more RP-like. Like, for instance, you actually have to eat, you have to drink, you have to keep your nourishment up. It affects how much strength you have, it affects how much weight you can carry. You have to sleep, which, like, your character will start nodding off and, like, your vision will blur and all that, and you won't concentrate as much. His intelligence will go down, stuff like that. And then if you're dressed up like some complete hag off the street, people are going to look at you like, who's that guy? He might be a thief or something like that. And then other people, like, if you're dressed up, like, nice and proper and all that, and you're in fairly decent shape, you're going to be like, oh, hey, he's a cool guy.
Right.
Just different mechanics like that, like small details do help improve an RP game from an RP standpoint.
Well, I think stuff like that would be cool, but I think that would really only work in a single player only environment unless those things, like people, for instance, people see you in in nicer clothes and they're like, oh hey, he's not a piece of crap, we can trust him. If something like that, but this guy says that he says Bethesda. That's hilarious. That's funny. Good comment there. Yes, I like that. No, so I think that would work maybe if it only affected the host, I guess. If they, it would be. I feel like it would be really hard to make that work for everybody in the lobby, though, because there's no. I mean, that would work in single player really well, but I don't think that that would really work in, in the grand scheme of things. And that's just me. I could be entirely off base. That could work. Who knows?
The main ones from that could work are stuff like the nourishment and all that, where, like, let's say you're not as nourished, you're hungry, you're losing energy, and it's because you're not eating enough, then you're going to be a little bit weaker, you're not going to be able to carry as much, and stuff like it's going to make you walk slower, you'll start nodding off a little bit, you won't be able to concentrate as much, stuff like that. Just small details when it comes to just, like, eating and drinking and sleep. I think that could work, just from a survival standpoint.
Right.
Sort of referring to like a system almost like State of Decays, where your characters start getting tired and all that, and you have to switch out to another character while that character rests up or heals.
Yep. Yeah, that part in State of Decay really frustrates me. That really chaps my ass that I have to switch to a different character.
Yeah, I'd rather just be able to just eat something and be like, alright, let's keep going. Drink an energy drink.
Yeah, sleep is for wieners. Unless it's me, then I need sleep, and I'm not a wiener. So Mike, you don't have any input on that then? You're good there?
I'm there.
Okay. Tippy, or anything further from you?
No. Nothing.
No.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone in the viewing audience have any comments, questions, concerns, anything that you want us to touch on, or that you think we may have some knowledge on? I'll give just a second here to see if anyone has any input.
All right. Also, one thing to help out your guy who was
like.
I'm sorry. Say again. What'd you say, Mike?
There's about a 2-minute lag, so we're going to give a couple minutes.
Oh, is there? Okay, that's good to know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you watching it on the thing right now?
Okay. I was a while ago.
Okay.
So we're about 2 minutes behind. So as we're wrapping up here, we'll fill time, give people time to comment if they would like.
One other thing to help out that guy who was also talking about space and Fallout, there was a rumor going around that people were hoping for, with the aspect of, if you ever look in Fallout 4 Nuka World, they sort of established a little bit of space lore by showing different robots and stuff that they would actually use in space in the Fallout universe. So there's a lot of speculation that sometime soon we might see something involving space, just to sort of show off that stuff, because they're thinking that might have been a prototype for space stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a possibility. We might end up seeing something like that at some point. Maybe I would see it as maybe not a main game function. I could see it as a DLC. But that's just me. I guess who knows? I think that could go either way. I got Billy over here whining about missing his mom. So I think we're about caught up on the stream there. I don't think anyone else has anything that they wanna add. Is yours
watching it good?
Yeah, is it caught up on your end? Okay, yeah, because I'm watching it on mine. I didn't see anything either. Okay, so again, I just want to make sure nobody has any final points they want to add. Nothing. No? Peanut Gallery's quiet? Okay. Alright, that'll do.
Wait, what?
I don't have any points on this to add. Just followers, we really appreciate support, and stay tuned because we do have more coming down the pipe.
Yeah, especially after the 10th. There's going to be lots to cover. That's for sure. I cannot wait for E3. What's the countdown for E3 again? You still got that up?
7 days and something, I think.
Yes. Stand by, I'll get you an exact.
Because that's about the countdown that I get to come home from drill and stop hating my life.
You know, I can't believe my friend would not shut up today about how Fortnite is going to be at E3.
Yeah. What did I tell you? We don't talk about that. Okay. Well, with that, we can end the live stream here. For everyone who stuck with us for the hour and 20 minutes that this lasted. This is a little bit longer than I had anticipated, but we had some good comments and feedback from our viewers. We'll go ahead and end the live stream here. So I want to thank everyone who viewed it, and in the future, everyone who decides to view this later and sticks with us. Thank you very much. Please make sure you like, comment. I try to respond to everybody that comments, and definitely click that bell notification. You will definitely see more from us in the upcoming days and weeks as we further cover Fallout 76, or Fallout 76 as it progresses towards its release date. So with that, you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.